This is how to create a killer YouTube thumbnail. Now, your next video might be the one that blows up your channel, but that will only happen if people actually click on it. So what makes a good thumbnail, and what do the most successful YouTubers do to get all those clicks? In this video, I'm gonna be sharing a simple 5-step system to making a killer thumbnail, and then at the end, I'll also tell you why Mr. Beast has recently been saying that thumbnail is irrelevant.
Thumbnail is irrelevant.
Anyway, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Oscar Owen, and I'm a YouTube strategist living in London. Now, my other channel's got over 1 million subscribers. You can see the plaque thing over there, and it's got over 250 million views as well. So I know a fair amount about what it takes to make a really good thumbnail, and I've broken everything down for you into 5 easy steps. Step 1 is the most important part to having a killer thumbnail, yet it's so often overlooked by new YouTubers. I mean, you could have literally the greatest, most beautiful, well-designed thumbnail in the world, but if that thumbnail and title are about a really uninteresting topic, then no one's gonna click on it. Which is why step 1 to having a killer thumbnail and title is to make sure that your video idea is on something super interesting. Now, if you don't believe me, then here's Mr. Beast saying exactly that.
Someone reads it, do they have to watch it? Is it just so intrinsically interesting that it's just gonna fuck with them if they don't click on it? Ideally, the title represents content that you would want to watch for 20 minutes. So if it's a 20-minute video and the title is I stepped on a bug, the click-through rate is going to be much lower.
Now, even though he only mentioned the word title in that clip, he's actually referring to both the title and the thumbnail as they work together. But essentially, your title and thumbnail represent the idea of your video, and if the idea is not interesting enough, then no one's going to click on it in the first place. So therefore, what you need to do is take the time to craft a really good YouTube idea first, and then do your title and thumbnail afterwards. So your idea needs to be something that's innately interesting and people just have to watch it. And it takes a long time to brainstorm a good YouTube idea, but it's so worth it because that's ultimately the foundation that will make your video perform well. And I'll be making a deep dive video into idea generation soon and the exact process that I use to get 1 million subscribers on my other channel. So subscribe now so you don't miss that video. Anyway, once you've got a YouTube video idea that you think will do really well, you're then ready to move on to stage 2 of creating a killer thumbnail, and that is getting the potential viewer's attention. So when a potential viewer goes on YouTube, your thumbnail and title is competing with all the other thumbnails and titles on the platform. Not only that, it's also competing with everything else in your potential viewer's life, like what's on TV, or a message that they're getting on a different platform, or even their cat looking super cute and wanting to be petted. It really doesn't matter, there are so many distractions in our life, and therefore your thumbnail needs to grab the viewer's attention as they're scrolling through their feed. And successful YouTubers apply a 2-step formula to do this. First, they use contrasting and complementary colors on their thumbnails, and second, they provoke an emotion in their thumbnail, such as fear, surprise, or curiosity. So let's take a look at an example. So check out this Mr. Beast thumbnail. Firstly, notice how the main colors are red, green, and pink. And if we take a color wheel, you'll also see that red and green are opposites, meaning they stand out from each other most. And second, notice how the expression on his face produces an emotion of fear and surprise, which is an excellent way to grab someone's attention. And as he says in this tweet, people's eyes are naturally drawn to faces, meaning it's far more likely to actually get their attention if you show a face on your thumbnail. Now, most YouTubers don't actually want thumbnails as striking as Mr. Beast, and you don't need to have his kind of thumbnails to be successful. Here's an Ali Abdaal thumbnail, and this video's got over 12 million views, and is way less dramatic than the Mr. Beast one. However, notice all the same trends are there. There's still color contrast, the white icons stand out from the darker background, and second, you can see the graphic of $27,000 on the screen, and this creates a really strong emotion of shock, because you're shocked to know that he's earning that amount of money. And this obviously grabs your attention, so you stop scrolling. So killer thumbnails have contrasting colors and produce emotions using text, graphics, or facial expressions. And if you do this on your thumbnails, it will help capture your viewer's attention and make them stop scrolling. But just getting the viewer to stop scrolling and look at your thumbnail isn't enough, because this is where step 3 comes in, which is getting the viewer to actually click on your thumbnail and watch your video. And you've only got a split second to make the viewer actually want to click on your video before they just continue scrolling. So this next part is crucial to understand. So what actually makes someone click on a video? Well, all the top YouTubers know this, and it comes down to a few words. Creating a curiosity gap. Let me say that again because it's so important. The only reason someone will click on your video is because the thumbnail creates a curiosity gap. What is a curiosity gap? It's the gap between what your viewer currently knows and what your viewer would like to know. And your thumbnail has to fill this void. So let me explain. If we go back to the Ali Abdaal thumbnail, you're not just shocked that he's earning $27,000 a month. but you also want to know how he does it. And that's what his video promises. The thumbnail shows how much money he's making, and that creates the curiosity gap because you want to know how he makes all that money. And then the title says that the video will fill in this gap because he's going to explain how he earns $27,000 a month. So you can see how the title and thumbnail work together to create and fill the curiosity gap. So look at your thumbnails and ask yourself, does this spark curiosity? Does this leave people just wanting to know more? Does it leave something unsaid that the viewer just needs to know? And if the answer is yes, then your thumbnail's great and you're ready to move on to the next step. And if the answer is no, then you need to rework your thumbnail. The other important thing to note is your thumbnails need to show and not tell. So the bold text on Ali Abdaal's video shows how much money he's making, sparking that curiosity, making you want to click. Take one of my videos from my other channel, which has over 12 million views. This video teaches magic tricks with cigarettes, and as you can see in the thumbnail, there's a floating cigarette, which is one of the tricks that I'm teaching inside the video. Here I'm showing people a magic trick. I'm showing them the cigarette floating in my hand, and this creates a curiosity gap because people want to know how that illusion works. I could have just easily made a thumbnail that looks like this, but as you can see, it doesn't show the magic to rebuild that curiosity. So think of ways you can show the most interesting and most captivating parts of your video, and this can be through using text, using graphics, faces, and obviously relevant images. But here's the golden rule. The viewer should be able to look at the thumbnail and know mostly what the video is about without even seeing the title. And speaking of titles, let's move on to step 4, which is crafting the perfect title. Because the thumbnail and title work really closely together, as we've just mentioned, so you need to get them both right. Now, there are 3 golden rules you need to follow when it comes to titles. First, it should be under 50 characters or the ... will appear because it's just too long. And as Mr. Beast famously says, this is the worst thing because viewers don't even know what they're clicking on. Second, it should confirm to the viewer that they need to watch your video. So here's a good example. This is a Peter McKinnon thumbnail, and as you can see, the thumbnail has a crazy before and after transformation. And obviously everyone watching this wants to know how that transformation works. It really builds curiosity. How did he turn this image to this image? And then what the title does is it confirms that if the viewer watches the video, they will learn how that transformation actually works. Because in this case, the video is called How to Make Your Photos Look Better Fast. So this promises the viewer that if they watch his video, they'll understand how to do this transformation, so the viewer is much more likely to actually click on the video. So make sure your titles actually confirm what the viewer sees in the thumbnail. Finally, you want to use trigger words in your title, and these are just excellent words that build a sense of excitement and urgency in the viewers, making them want to click. So the title of this video is How to Make a Killer YouTube Thumbnail. Killer is the trigger word. I could have said amazing, but killer is just a much stronger word that will make people want to click. So here's a list of 50 amazing trigger words that all the top YouTubers use in their video titles, and you can download this along with everything else in this video for free by clicking the first link in the description. But even if you do everything I've just told you, you have the perfect thumbnail, the perfect title, you still might not be getting the highest click-through rate. And that's where step 5 comes in. Because in a recent interview, Mr. Beast said, thumbnails are irrelevant. And this is why. You see, I've been on YouTube now for about 7 years, and since the inception of YouTube, thumbnails and titles have been the primary way that people decide whether or not they actually want to click on a video to watch it. But recently, YouTube introduced a new feature which is making thumbnails far less relevant, and that feature is called autoplay. So have you ever gone on YouTube and just seen how the video starts to automatically start playing? Well, that's autoplay in action. And it just means in many cases, viewers will not even see your thumbnail for very long. They'll just see the first 5 seconds of your video and use that to sample your content and decide whether or not they want to watch your video. So the first 5 seconds of your video is just as important, if not more important, than your thumbnail. And this is something that so many new YouTubers don't even know about. So the first 5 seconds of your video basically is the new thumbnail. And if it's boring, people won't click, meaning you'll have a low click-through rate. So how do we make the first 5 seconds of our video really interesting? Well, the most successful YouTubers apply a 3-step formula to the first 5 seconds of their YouTube videos. Tip 1 is the first sentence they say in the video matches their title. Tip number 2 is the first shots of the video also match the thumbnail, and tip number 3 is that there's lots of action going on, be it through text or graphics or just lots of scene cuts. So here's a really good example. Look at the title and thumbnail from this Mark Rober video, and as you can see, there's a person in a white suit running away from a dog, and the title is called How to Escape a Police Sniffing Dog. Now let's look at the first 5 seconds of the video.
This is me running for my life in a forest as I'm being hunted by an animal specifically trained to find humans.
Notice how the first few shots clearly match the thumbnail, and Mark's first sentence is,
This is me running for my life in a forest as I'm being hunted by an animal specifically trained to find humans.
and this perfectly matches his title. And finally, there's a bunch of different clips making the video fast-paced and exciting. So Mark Rover isn't the only YouTuber to do this. Lots of the top YouTubers like Mr. Beast, Mr. Who's the Boss, Peter McKinnon, and even my other channel as well, do this. So just think of it as a mini 5-second trailer to the rest of your video, and it just needs to be so irresistible that the viewer has no choice but to watch it. You just need to show the most exciting and epic parts of your video. Just to clarify, your first 5 seconds don't need to match your title and thumbnail word for word and pixel per pixel, but they need to be close enough so that when your viewer actually clicks on the video, they realize that it's not clickbait. The other thing to clarify is thumbnails still are relevant because they show up on the desktop, they show up in playlists, and in lots of other places as well, so you still need to create really good thumbnails, but it's worth being aware about this 5-second autoplay feature because that also impacts whether or not people watch your videos. So if there's anything you should take away from this video on how to make a killer YouTube thumbnail, it's this. Number 1, have a great video idea first. Number 2 is to stop the viewer from scrolling by grabbing their attention using color and emotions. Number 3 is to create a curiosity gap and make them want to click on the video. And then number 4 is to make sure your title and thumbnail work together and that your title is the appropriate length. And number 5 is to focus on the first 5 seconds of the video too. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, and you can download all 5 points and all those trigger words for free just by clicking the first link in the description. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.